Sounds correct.
You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. I am here with my husband, Calvin Masters. And we just recently hosted a live event with 50 women, and I was talking to them about perimenopause and menopause and different things that they're experiencing. And something that came to mind for me was the perspective of their significant others. Because the things and the feelings and the experiences that we have during this time, at least when I was going through it, I know I didn't understand what was going on and what was happening. And as a result, it was a very difficult time. I would say probably the most difficult time during our marriage because I didn't know what was going on. I was reacting a certain way. Calvin was having his own experience. So I thought it would be good to see now and to share the things that were happening, why they were happening, and also to kind of understand for husbands to realize what may be happening because it is a known fact that many marriages are suffering. There are women that are experiencing depression and not understanding why. There is a very high suicide rate of women after 40 in their 50s. And it's all, many of it stem from this time in their life. So I thought it would be really helpful to be able to share that. And I know Calvin has some input from his side and from a guy's perspective.
Yeah, I'm not the enemy. I'm here to
Yeah.
support it for sure. Yeah, it is something that's pretty interesting because it's something I noticed, I guess, more in the last 10 years. I was seeing a lot of couples getting divorced in their early 50s, late 40s. And I'm thinking, man, like why? They've been married for decades, they're finally kind of established, they're there, they have the bond, they have the kids, and it's like out of nowhere at this time. And it just didn't make sense to me until, over the last course of the last 5 years, when, you began into menopause and I started noticing the changes. For us, we were a little bit more educated on it at that time. So we kind of knew that things were going to happen. But looking at it from an outsider standpoint, to see these changes happen when you don't have any idea what's going on. I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge now that females were not educated on this in school. They
Yep.
didn't see this coming. They just heard menopause and just thought that was just something that happens when you get old, and it's just is what it
Hot
is,
flashes. That's it.
Yeah,
Just
hot
some hot
flashes,
flashes
whatever,
and we're done.
It's kind of funny. They chuckle about it when they're younger and they
Yeah.
tease their parents or whatever. But well, this is real. This is a real thing, and so it is something that is kind of brought to light in the last probably, especially the last 5 years. I think
Yep.
there's just been a lot of talk about it, a lot of education going out, a lot of people trying to help, which I think is amazing because it's bringing it out in the spotlight because it is such a big part of a woman maturing, you know,
Yep.
and it's going to happen to every single woman. But at the same time, when you have a relationship, there's changes that come along with this that are not just physical changes. It's the mental changes is really, that's the thing that I think a lot of women don't see coming. I don't think they realize. I think they're aware of the physical changes, but they're not quite aware of the mental changes. And who knows much less than the female that's actually going through it is
Yep.
their significant other, you
Yep.
know. And the thing of it is if you think about this, it's 50 years old, right? So the female's going through this, maybe late 40s, starting into it. Now, the average American at 50, his body's changed a little bit. Things have changed, so
Yeah.
testosterone is low, belly, things have happened. So already, he's probably not feeling in a great place as it is. There's probably some insecurities with it. Now, his wife, the person that he's trusted, all these years, all of a sudden starts acting differently, right? Not saying as much, kind of quiet. Where he was getting attention before, now he's not getting attention. She's a little bit more irritable. She's a little bit more self aware, and less aware of him, and so a lot of things are changing in that aspect, and the libido's down. It's hormones are dropping. This
Yep.
is kind of going back into to puberty, just in the other direction.
Yep.
So things are changing, but the mental thing, there is a lack of attention going to the other, to the male in this. And so guys are not good communicators. I think
Hmm.
I'm not the first one to come out and say this. I'm
Hmm.
going to have to be honest. We're not the best. We're problem solvers, but we solve problems in our head.
Yep.
Now, this is one of those times that's not a good idea, but we don't know that because we're just kind of seeing the outskirts of what's happening here. We aren't seeing internally what's happening, but we're just seeing the reflection of it out here. So we're putting together in our head, we're piecing this together from what we know. And to us, who knows what's going through her head? We think maybe she's seeing somebody else. Maybe she's not attracted to me anymore.
Yep.
Maybe it's because I put this weight on, or whatever the case is. Now that starts to pull the man away, right? So then he starts acting that way. He starts rebelling. Then the arguing starts.
Yep.
And the crazy thing about this is that this comes at a time in life when you really should be the happiest time of your life, because for some people, not everybody, but some people that have been married, they spent the time, they did it, the kids are going off to college, this is their time to kind of reinvent each other, kind of re-find what made each other fall in love with each other. Well, this throws a rock in things.
Yep. Yep.
The timing's not great, right?
Yeah.
So that's not what's going through their head, but this is their time when you should really be at the high point of your life, and it switches it around, it makes it a low point. And what it is overall is a lack of education.
Yep.
The females didn't know and the males don't know what's going on, and now that even the females know. But I don't know too many guys that really understand perimenopause and menopause the way that I do, because this is what we do for a living. But the average guy is not going to understand this, and who's out there explaining this to them?
Yep.
you
Yep.
know
That's why I thought this was a really good topic, because I thought it would be really helpful, putting it out there for the women to help them to understand, like, they're not losing their minds. But I also wanted to come and talk about, like, specific things that they are feeling, because it's not just, hey, I got hot flashes, right? It's like something like sensitivity to noises and touch. When you have a fluctuation in hormones, there are noises, and Calvin like makes fun of me all the time. Like, things will drop and it's just like it makes you startle, right? And you're super super sensitive to noises. That's why they always make the jokes of like he was chewing too loud, or like his spoon was clanking against his teeth. It's because those sounds, for some reason, with the hormonal fluctuations, it's like you feel it, and it's like nails on a chalkboard is how I would describe it to somebody else. Like, Calvin knows that fan in the bathroom, just hearing that fan, I shut it off and it's like, ah, oh my gosh, do you hear that noise? And he's like, what are you talking about? But again, when you have that particular symptom, for instance, if you are that person that is having that high sensitivity to any of the senses, your husband's going to go towards you and start touching you. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, stop. Like, I just need to like sit by myself. So, like what you were saying, like, to you, it probably looked as if, hey, she doesn't want me near her, is something going on. But in my head, I'm so consumed with, stop, it feels so awful right now. So, that's just one area, and having that constant sensory overload, it's like you almost shut down. It's like you have so much information going in, you almost feel like just curling up, going into a space, being by yourself, And again, it's not because of the husband, it is because you just feel this this sensation like I just need quiet. It has been so much that my brain is just shutting down and I need time to just like get myself regulated again is what it feels like. So, I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's where the lack of communication comes in because and I think the two would not be aware of it so much because especially when it's new when you don't understand on the female's side, you're having these noise, issues and touch issues and everything. And so in your head, that's just all you're thinking is I just want needed to stop and just
Mhm.
carry on with my night. So you're not in a place to say, hey, I'm sorry, this is just my hormones doing something.
Yeah.
And most guys are gonna react. They're gonna see
Yep.
your reaction and they're gonna react, but it's gonna be a quiet reaction. And it's gonna be them walking into the other room and they're taking notes.
Yep.
They see that. And then it makes them aware. Then something may happen a week later, or maybe the next day.
Which is something else because even with women, right? So what happens sometimes is that there's like an emotional delay, right? So I can get mad over something and I can't express it. It's just like bottled up. And then something else will happen like a week later. And then I'm like, oh, I remember this. Why did you do this? And then you would look at me like, why are we bringing this up now? And
Wait,
that
did
would
that just start in menopause? I'm pretty sure that happened before.
shut your face. So it's like those types of things, and the word finding, right? And I know all my women out there that you have the brain fog going on and you can't find the words that you want to say. And that's another part of it is I literally can't find the freaking words and organize my thoughts enough to be able to tell you what's going on. Because when I was in it, it was just like I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what was going on. I knew I mean, there was a point I told you, like, I wanted to go for a CAT scan. Like, I can't find my words. Things were not right. I literally couldn't feel like I didn't feel like myself, and something's off. Something's wrong.
Leaving the stove on,
Leaving this, I had to
trying to
cook in the
explain.
microwave for a short period of time. But it's frightening. And because you're so consumed with what is wrong with me, it's like I didn't have time to think of other people's feelings. It didn't even register with me because I was so consumed with there's something not right and what can I do about it?
Yeah.
So, and another part of it is the physical discomfort because, you know, again, you want that closeness, to be able to have with your partner. But there are some things when your estrogen is dropping, like you are not going to be comfortable during sex. Your libido is going to drop because of a drop in testosterone. Like you're not going to have those wants and needs. And then you are so emotionally disconnected and you almost feel like this numbness, right? Like you have absolutely zero feelings, and I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like just you're not happy, sad, mad. Like it eventually gets to a point when hormones really start downregulating that you just totally disengage and have no energy. You really just want to crawl in bed and lay down for a little while and just start hoping that you're going to start feeling like yourself again and having that energy because testosterone is going to not just affect your libido, but it's also going to affect your motivation. And when you don't feel like doing anything, your husband's not going to be most of the time like, come on, when you haven't been giving attention, when you haven't, been understanding what's going on. You have been snapping, you have been doing all these things, not intentionally. But again, like Calvin said, he's not going to say, hey, girl, like, you're on your own. Like, you've been doing X, Y, and Z. Many of them will just like, fine, you don't want anything? Peace out. I'm going to go and find someone else and do something else.
Yeah, because guys don't do as well as change uh, with changes. I think that women do. And so when something like this happens, we have a tendency to look the other way and just figure it's going to fix itself. But the things are still accumulating in our head. And so the conversations, your reactions to it, and then when you get into the bedroom, this is the other thing too, because these things can be building up, and then when something would normally happen and these thoughts are going through the guy's head already, and then he goes to be intimate, right? And there's the dryness, right? And so it's something you wouldn't think much about, but in his head, he's like, well, this wasn't like this before. She's really not attracted to me. She's probably thinking about somebody else and wants nothing to do with me. And again, very unlikely that he's going to bring this up at this time. But the pouting will start. And this is when things probably start to get ugly. I know there's somebody out there listening right now that can
Yep.
resonate with this and said, you know what, this, we went through this, because it's so common.
Yep. And, the challenging thing I think is, at least when I started, like I probably started some of these symptoms probably in my early 40s, but never thinking that it could be menopause. Like, are you kidding me? I'm in early 40s. But the changes could start happening and the things could start going on depending on a lot of things. Some people can breeze through perimenopause and menopause with zero symptoms, right? Many women, though, especially women that are high stressors, A types, you're trying to take care of the kids, all the things, that's when you have high stress, you are going to have more of the symptoms. If you haven't been training for most of your life, you're going to have more of your symptoms. Like I didn't start training until like 2016. So, training early, not being on birth control, not having the stressors, all of those things will help someone. Those are my people that don't have, hey, all I had was like my joints ached a little bit, but I was good. But the people that have had symptoms, when they start, like I was getting vertigo, I started having, and when you start thinking something's wrong with you, that's just another stressor. That's just something else that you're worried about. And again, when your husband's acting distant and you are trying to tell him something's going wrong, he's already at the point like, you know what? You're fine. You're just apparently with some other guy,
I know.
you know? So,
Luckily, it didn't get to that point with us, but it, you can see how that can happen very
yep,
easily, And so, if not anything else, it can cause issues, and then it becomes more obvious why you're seeing these couples, that should be at a very happy time in their life are now getting divorces, restarting over, and having an affair or whatever the case is, and and like I said, it's really lack of communication, but lack of education and even knowing how to communicate with this,
yep,
and I think that what's good about this, that we're talking about this, is because I think there's been so much focus on talking about the women's side, but you have to consider that there's that other half that's seeing things and not understanding it, and
yep,
to tell them when this stuff is happening isn't going to have the same effect as telling them ahead of time, saying, "Listen, I'm going through some things right now. Bear
hmm,
with me. This is part of a change in our life." So, and it does it hits women a little bit differently. It depends where your body was going into it, but there's going to be some types of a symptom, and you're not going to really get much warning. So you have to kind of
yep,
be aware of what can happen. So
yep. I think it's even helpful for guys of knowing some of these things that's happening because sometimes when you're in it, it's really hard to even for me to be able to say, "Hey, listen, I need you to do this." Because at the point I didn't even know what I needed. I didn't know what was going on. So, I think it's really important that to make the relationship stronger is to say, "Hey, I know you're going through some things. I know this is not you. Tell me how it is I can support you," right? And understanding that this is nothing to do with them. Like, is there something and just asking, like, is there something I can do? Is there something I can do? So I think that's what most women just want to hear is if there is something that I can do to help you, please tell me what I can do to support you. Because that's really the only thing. And we could say, hey, I have no idea. I'm just losing my mind over here. And if you could just like stop this nonsense, I would appreciate it. So it having a little bit of the education, the understanding of what is going on has to be from both places, right? To say, hey, I think something's going on, you tell me if there's something I can do to support you. And you saying, like, listen, I know I'm losing my mind. I don't understand what's happening. Please just be patient with me and know it's not you. Like and many times I had to come back and like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I was screaming like that over something silly nonsense, but it is this, it's almost like you're taking over. That's all I can
Yeah.
explain it.
I think, in a lot of households, I mean, it's like this in ours, but probably in a lot of other households with married couples, for the most part, women are the caretakers, right? The guys go, they make money, and the women do too, but the guy or the way our head thinks we're the hunters. We're going out, we're gathering the money and bringing it back
Yeah.
and doing our thing. We're doing our part. But in reality, the moms run the home. They just do.
Hmm.
The women run the home. And so they kind of just know everything. We're guys, we forget things, we think we run the home, but in reality, let's be honest, guys, they run the home. All right. So this is the thing that's very important, and what I feel should be stressed to the husbands or significant others during this time is that this is your time to actually step up and understand that what she's going through right now is going to make doing that job very difficult,
Yeah.
because she's just trying to take care of herself right now and just try to get through it. She's going to forget things. If you're relying on her for every single little thing to remind you to go do this appointment or make this appointment and do this, there's going to be issues because she's not going to.
Yep.
So this is a time to kind of step up and say, okay, well, I got this. She's had your back all these years. This is your time to step in and have her back. It does get better. The grass is, going to get, or the rainbow's going to come back, but there's going to be a short period of time that there's going to be these changes. And the guy just has to be aware of it. He has to step up and he has to help to make things work in the house.
Yeah. And even so, like I've had, you were pretty good. Like you'll see stuff going on here. I got this and let me take this. But, asking, I've talked to other friends of mine that it's like, he asked me for a list, but by the time I come up with my list of things to do, like I might as well just do it myself. So it's kind of the things of seeing in the moment, like, hey, I see you doing this. Do me a favor. Go sit down for a little while, get yourself together. Let me take care of this. So looking for the things without having to ask for the things. And that's something that because there are 100 tabs open most of the time in women's heads, and we have the things that we need to do, and to go through the tabs and be able to reorganize and tell you what to do and what's going to take off of my plate. It's sometimes easier and really comforting to hear you say, hey, I see you doing this. Do me a favor. Go, I will take care of this. Go take some time. But I think how I feel is after going through this, I'm a different person than I was before. I feel like I'm stronger than I was before. I feel like I'm more capable of what I was before, and I have more clarity, and I give a lot less F's about, things that don't matter as much. And I think that's the big part of letting go and realizing some things are worth, stressing over. I mean, to a degree, but some things you just have to let it go. Like, it's not going to be perfect 100%. The more you focus that it has to be perfect and he has to say the right things and he has to do all of the things. And if he's not doing all of the things, then why doesn't he just do it? Because just hearing from this, right? He's not going to do all the things like you do because he's not you. And we have to accept that our partner is who they are and we love them for who they are. And the fact that he's coming to me and saying, "Hey, I see this is going on. Let me do this for you." That's huge. That's like, okay, now I don't have someone else I have to take care of, but now I have a partner. And I think our relationship I mean, we've been together almost 25 years, and now we're working together and doing the things, and now I'm through all the nonsense, but I think it's made me feel like I'm in a better place, and I feel it's our relationship is in a better place and stronger because we've made it through that kind of nonsense and realized now looking back, like, hey, when we start seeing things going on, the communication has to be there because it's absolutely necessary in order to make a relationship work.
Yeah, that's the key thing, the communication. Because, like I was saying, guys are not great at communicating it. So do not assume that they understand what's going on. I would assume quicker that what they think they understand is something completely different than what's actually going on.
Yeah.
So letting them know how you feel this is a lot on top of things that's going on, with you. And this is just another thing to add on to that. But until there's more education, guys are more aware of, the changes, this is the way it needs to be done. It just needs to be talked about. And when you're feeling certain things, let them know ahead of time, not the time of.
Or I, there were also times like writing things down, because when you're in the middle of a rage, and or sometimes it's getting blindsided and you don't realize it's coming on, and then it happens, and then you're like, oh my god, why did that happen? And then you'll come back and have a conversation, but then it turns into an argument. So sometimes it's almost writing things down sometimes is helpful, of, hey, I know you didn't mean this, I didn't mean this, like, this is how I'm feeling. And so it takes like that emotional component out, right? So you don't have that battle where you guys are like, I'm right, and that's it. Really recognizing, like, I know this wasn't your intention and this wasn't my intention, but this is what's going on in my head right now. So I think that would be super helpful too.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's luckily we're in a time right now where it's kind of come out into the spotlight, and there's a lot of things being that are being brought out to manage menopause, to make it a lot more of a pleasant experience to go through, and a lot of it's by choice. There's natural ways to kind of help hormones, but there's only so much you can do in a menopause state when the hormones are coming down. If your body's not producing, there's only so much naturally that you can do with that to push it. But kind of like what we were saying, some women get hit worse than others. Some can go through menopause and it's like nothing ever happened, but very few that happens with. And then there's things like HRT where you can get hormones regulated. All, you know, individual's choice, no wrong or right answer. I can say that a lot of the symptoms from, perimenopause, the downregulation, the extremely low testosterone, these things are not healthy. They're just not
Yep.
healthy. So it's something to really kind of consider when you're going through it, because there's things that you might not think about, like visceral fat, that becomes very abundant in this stage. And that's the most dangerous fat you can have in your body.
Yep.
So I would say my recommendation is going to it proactive, try to be a little bit well read on it, because it is your body. Look into what your options are, based on maybe what symptoms you're having, you know. And I think
Yeah.
the practitioners are learning more about it now.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, it's,
And I talked about that a little bit on my on the recent menopause class, because people don't understand that estrogen is not just about like your cycle, and it's not just about reproduction. Like, it can affect your cholesterol, it's going to affect your and other cardiac markers. That's why you have higher cardiac risk as you get older. It can affect your bones. That's where there is higher risk for osteoporosis. When you see these women that are falling, breaking a hip, and their health goes to garbage, cognitive issues. There are so many areas that estrogen is responsible for. That's why you're seeing all these changes and all of these risks. So it's everybody's choice what they want to do, but it's kind of like, with anything else, understanding what is going on in your body, understanding what is happening and what is truly impacting your life, the quality of life, and puts you at risk for other things, and to, what the risk ratio is and what you should do about it. Talking to a practitioner that is licensed and able to understand what is going on, not just from labs, but from your, report, and understanding what is happening. Because there was a point I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I'm all natural, like, let's not do it, until I started having panic attacks and couldn't, like, literally leave the house. And then I was having joint issues, and then I started having cholesterol issues. And when it starts becoming, I'm at higher risk for health issues, that's where I decided to go that route. But everybody has their own idea, but you also have to look at, quality of life and understanding all aspects, and not just relationship, but also for your own health.
yeah, and depression's a big part of it too. When the hormones are going through this process, and for years before there was more attention on this, the doctors were given antidepressants. That's
They
how they
still
would
are.
fix
They
menopause.
still are.
And there's
Yep.
still some old school doctors out there that's what they're doing. I highly recommend, to anybody that's listening to this, if that's what a doctor offers, that's not the answer. that is not the answer. You have to find someone different that does understand these things. That's your clue that they don't. So I'd keep that in
Yeah.
mind. It does not fix it.
Yep. Yep.
So
But I hope everybody got value out of this, and I hope this saves a relationship or at least gives you some insight on how you can support and save your relationship or somebody else's. So if you did find value in this, we would appreciate it if you guys could leave us a review. And if there is someone that you feel might be going through this or could benefit from this, we truly would appreciate you sharing this information, because there's a lot of people out there that are lost and feeling broken, and especially just your body changing and not being in a good place. Having something to make them feel validated is super helpful. So,
yeah, and it's like she said, the bind that you have afterwards. The mindset that you want to have going into it is just not you going through it. It's the two of you going through it. So that's, you have to treat it that way. And the bond that you'll have after, when you know that you made it through and things are in a better place, is 100% going to make your marriage stronger. It's going to give
yep,
it, it's going to make it way more solid.
yep,
So it's just another shift in life, but it doesn't have to be bad,
yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next episode, and have a great week. Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site, so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.